Hello! Remember those nano-metal-figs I looked at recently? Well, probably not, because due to ongoing monetization problems, YouTube didn't actually tell most of you that it existed, so it does. Now there's more of it, yes. So, originally we were looking at figures of Harry Potter and Marvel comic superheroes and DC comic superheroes and, you know, all these big things. But did you know they also did Street Fighter figures from the video games like... In fact, he is one now. It's good old Ryu. Or Ryu, as we called him when we were growing up, because we'd only ever seen it written. Yeah. It surprised me that these exist, in the sense that, you know, it's nowhere near as big as, you know, Harry Potter or whatever, but I'm glad they do, for I like to see some recognition for Capcom's mighty fighting game. Interestingly, it says Street Fighter on it, but all the characters are from Street Fighter 2. The standard edition, not the Super, so you haven't got a Fei Long or anything like that. And the packaging is quite nice. It's got, you know, like cartoon versions of the fighters and a logo which looks right. And on the back there's a checklist for when you collect them all. But don't bother, because I'm going to show you them all today. Couldn't find them in this country, had to get them imported from America, so I'm not going to be eating for the next 12 years. Anyway, as it correctly says, Ryu comes from Street Fighter 1. He is the original Street Fighter. Does anybody remember that massive original Street Fighter 1 cabinet that had the pressure-sensitive buttons you had to pound with your fist, and then all the bloody padding around it had gone and you went like that and smashed your fist to pieces? Those were the days of the arcades. Anyway, yeah, so a lot of paint and weird lack of detail was kind of what stuck in my mind from these. Let's see how these ones fare. The answer is blimey. Yeah, it's weird how, if you look, there's like really tiny detail on his gloves there, the writing, look. I don't even remember his gloves having writing on there. I can't actually make it out with my eye. It's so teeny tiny. I'll have to look at it in the video later. And then you got his face, which, well, you can tell it's Ryu, can't you? Yeah, I mean, you know, he's got his white gi on, his red gloves, and he's got some pretty serious eyebrows going on, so there we are, that's accurate. But the lack of detail on the rest of the face is looking a bit worrisome. But it's not terrible, and I tell you, look at his feet, actually. Look, one foot is just like, it looks like a cereal box they've roughly serrated, rather than actually a human foot. But, you know, other than that, it's mostly there. Also, his gi is sort of glittery. I don't know if you can make that out, but it's got this sort of weird metallic glitter to it. For real, there's a lot of metallic paints used in these, actually, as we will demonstrate by looking at another Street Fighter 1 stalwart. It's alternate colour for Ryu, which is pretty much all he was in that game. Ken. Here he is, wearing his metal gi that he probably can't move in. He also suffers from a bad case of square foot. His face... well, he has no mouth, but I tell you what, he must scream. Actually, looking at this, Ryu kind of has a hint of mouth, but there's, you know, it's like that scene in The Matrix where Hugo Weaving's gone all, Mr. Anderson, and has made Neo's mouth disappear because he heard he was going to talk out loud the script for Matrix Revolutions. Anyway, yes, he's got his yellow hair. It's sort of weird and glossy and odd, and looks a bit more like Donald Trump's haircut, I'll be honest with you. He's got weird blobbing around his neck from where the paint has run. His gloves don't actually match all the way to the end of his fists. Yeah, well, I'm sure he's enjoying his ruby metal costume. Let's finish off this triumvirate of Street Fighter 1 characters with the boss of Street Fighter 1, who was later one of the sub-bosses in Street Fighter 2. It's Sagat! Here he is. Look at his giant legs, and his winning pose there when he crosses his arms and laughs. As you do. And his tiger belt buckle, look at that. Actually says tiger on it, because of course he shouts tiger when he does his special moves. Tiger uppercut! Tiger genocide, and all that kind of stuff. Because he's advertising that tiger shop that sells novelties. I'm sure that's how that works. How his pants are metal? I don't want to know. But more worryingly, he's got no teeth. I mean, what? It looks really weird. Tiger uppercut. To be honest, the more I look at it, the more I realise this is effectively the rotting corpse of Sagat, isn't it? You know, maybe it's been embalmed badly. I don't know. He's seen better days. I'm trying to work out if this is the Street Fighter 1 or Street Fighter 2 version. The main difference, incidentally, is Street Fighter 2 version has a big scar across his chest where he was caught with Ryu's uppercut in canon. Shoryuken, Arg, and all that. I think there's that hint of scratch there. I think it is. It's hard to tell with all the paint. But don't worry, Chun Li is here. The only female character from Street Fighter 2, the original version anyway. And a lot more intricate paint here. Again, a lot of use of the metallics. Her boots seem to have melded into the floor. It does kind of look like they're all on surfboards, doesn't it? This one in particular just looks like she is surfing. But yeah, the face is a bit of a letdown. Kind of looks like one of those PS1 anime games where they've rendered them in not enough polygons, do you know what I mean? And the eyes are also slipping down her face, which isn't particularly good. If your eyeballs have reached your cheeks, probably best to consult a physician, or possibly an undertaker, or possibly Cthulhu. Right, you go over there and do your spinning bird kicks, and we shall look at the mighty Zangief. Oh, fucking hell. Oh dear, oh dear. I hadn't closely looked at Zangief's face before. I mean, what is going on with that? That's tremendous. Yeah. It looks like his head is some sort of steam iron that they've just painted a hint of beard onto. But he has got his crazy shaped hair, and he's got his vague scratches and where he wrestles bears or whatever it is. But, yeah. Final atomic bust what has brought to my face. Oh, dearie me. And again, shiny metal underpants. Because apparently that's the way we roll these days. Dearie, dearie me. Do you remember that intro to Street Fighter 2 where there's two people like fighting outside an impossibly tall and wide office building, and then it says Street Fighter 2 at the top? The two people fighting, right, who might actually be Joe and Mike from Street Fighter 1. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not. If you look closely, when the character is punched, it looks more like he's shoving a roast potato into his face. So there's something to look out for. Anyway, Dhalsim. He's got stretchy limbs because he's Indian or something. I don't know. I've never really understood that. Yeah, they've gone... Sometimes they do portray him with a small head, but it's kind of gone a bit extreme here, especially with his giant MC Hammer pants. Yoga fire. Yeah, it's cool. Good God, he's got a serious wedgie going on with these bloody things as well. This is weird. And good God, the bottom of his foot has absolutely no detail, just completely flat, like it's a, I don't know, some sort of slipper or something. Let's look at the face. Oh, the face. It's so... It's what you see there, frankly, which isn't a whole lot. His skin is entirely metallic. It could just be a statue of Dhalsim, which would explain quite a lot of things. They've got the paint on his face, as in this, actual war paint type stuff on quite nice, but the eyes aren't quite working. Although he is, in most later versions of the game, portrayed as having pupilless white eyes. Again, no idea why. It's really weird how he's like one of the X-Men and all the rest are kind of human in Street Fighter, isn't it? Anyway, it's E Honda, everybody! He's named after a car, the E. Yeah, he's got, again, metal pants, because that's really a thing these days. He's pushing his hand out in that standard sumo stance, except his hand has turned into some sort of waffle and then been dipped in molten lead by the looks of it. So that's going to ruin his weekend. And he also supposed to be scratching himself, so rude. Yeah, he hasn't got any eyes because, fuck. Oh no, he has. He has got little slivers of eyes, but he has no mouth. Because hey, who needs to shout when you're E Honda? All you've got to say is "Hoot hoi," and that kind of... What noise did he make when he did the 100 hand slap? Just like noises, I think. I don't know. I can't remember that noise at the top of my head. I was never an E-Honda player. I don't like charge characters particularly. Zangief's one of my faves. Don't know why. I like grapplers. Tell you what else I like. People whose heads can be used as tables. It's Guile, everybody! Yay! Guile's theme goes with everything. Actually, because it's a common time signature and fits with many things. Technically. Yeah, so... But metal vest and trousers, because, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you if you had the option? He's got not just an 8-pack, but possibly a 24-pack, judging by his chest there. And his face is a mouthless, weird mass of nothing. And his hair is completely flat on top. Like, that's it. That is a table. Guile's head is a table. Sonic boom that, mate. And flash kick, although he doesn't say that when he does the move. Well, he's getting a very guily pose. It's one of his wind poses. I was going to say, that's right, when he goes in a wind tunnel, he always pulls this pose. No, one of his winning poses. And the paint has gone a bit kind of... Anyway, Blanka will save the day by being entirely metal. Entirely metal. Yeah, not entirely unlike the Dhalsim there, but... I don't know. It's kind of screaming in agony. It's like somebody's poured molten metal over him. That'd ruin your weekend, wouldn't it? And the mouth... He appears to have teeth. He does have teeth. Maybe he took Sagats. Maybe that's what's happened here. The hair looks wrong from the back. It looks more like something like, I don't know... I'm trying to think of a good example. That hair has reminded me of something specific. That's it. If it was black, it'd be like an 80s wrestler. Many of them had long hair like that. The Ultimate Warrior, that kind of thing. Well, he's also weirdly got a chain on one of his anklets. And I'm pretty sure that wasn't a thing, was it? Because they were always gold, weren't they? In fact, in his ending in Street Fighter 2, doesn't he get reunited with his long-lost mother and she's like, oh, I know you're my son because you've got those golden anklets I gave you. And like you gave him massive golden anklets that wouldn't have fitted on his legs when he was lost in the jungle. I don't know, it's weird. It's Street Fighter 2, you don't play it for the plot. But yeah, they've painted with grey and some press. That's weird. I don't understand that. Maybe that's a reference to something I am not aware of. Anyway, it's not a great pose for Blanka, really. I mean, it's supposed to be his winning pose where he stands up at the end and goes, "Wah," and waves his arms, but he's sort of taller and more weirdly stretched and less human than that. Also, he's not fucking metal, is he? Right, next up, we've got a few bosses left. It's good old Vega, or as he's called in Japan, the Potato Harvester. Yeah, metal trousers, metal socks. That's a new one. His claw has bonded itself to his flesh in a horrifying manner. His mask is really detailed. It even has the little... why is that on his face? I always thought it was like a V or something. I'm not sure now looking at it. His tattoo of the dragon is kind of under there. And what is there is quite detailed, but it's covered by the claw. It's also not carried over to his back, bizarrely. But yeah, the Spanish ninja who cheats like a fucker because he brings a weapon to an unarmed fight. Just because he can't go sonic boom and whip things out of the air, he thinks he gets a pointy pig sticker. Well, you're a rude cheat, and we don't like you. Go and stand over there next to Smelly Blanka. Ah, good old Bison, as he was in Japan. Or Balrog, as we call him over here, because originally he was actually called Balrog. You know all this. You know all this. I'm sure you do. So, well, you can probably guess why he was originally called Bison and why they had to change the name, because he is clearly Mike Tyson. Anyway, there's Mike Tyson's haircut, look. Yes. Again, we've got the kind of no detail on the face, but also this sort of weird lumps dripping out of his head. And why wouldn't there be? Why wouldn't there be? Well, he's doing a move. He's doing what I think one of the ones you have to hold back for a second and then push forward and kick for, because he doesn't have any kicks being a boxer. He just has different punches, which gives him an uppercut. Might be one of those ones where you hold down all the kick buttons as well and then release after a while. Street Fighter 2, eh? And nicely, it's got quite glossy paint on his boots and base, but not actually metallic. However, his pants and vest, as ever, are metal, so he won't be able to do that thing when he wins of tearing his shirt off, because, you know, I don't think even he is strong enough to rip metal with his bare hands. But I tell you who probably is: evil boss man Bison. The M stands for micturation. So I don't know which version this one's from. Hang on, right, I'm actually going to jump cut quickly and see which version of Bison it says this is on the packet, because they all say, don't they? Oh, good. So I was going through them and saw that Blanka is from the version of Blanka from Street Fighter 5. He's not in Street Fighter 5. And then I realised it's just an internal referencing number for the people who make them, the 100% die-cast metal company. Because I'm pretty sure that Vega isn't in Street Fighter 11. It's just, this is Street Fighter figure number so-and-so. Oh, well, that's a shame. So they are all Street Fighter 2 designs, we will assume. But yeah, he was a bit less bulky than this, wasn't he? He was a bit more of a wiry gentleman in the first game. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, that. I don't know, this is more like the sort of Street Fighter Alpha version, maybe? No, not quite as bulky as that. This is more like the Street Fighter 4. Let's say it's a Street Fighter 4 Bison. And he's entirely metal apart from his face, because that's the way Raul Julia wanted it in that film, I can't remember. And his... oh, fucking hell. Wow. So they've like tried to do little white eyes under his cap, and it's not quite worked. You've ended up with this weird grinning... Well, what is going on with that? I don't know how well this is picking this up, but it's just really strange to look at the naked eye. It's like he's pulled his cap down over his eyes, done a weird sort of grimacing, gurning grin, and now 2 raw eggs are dripping down his face. And why the devil not, eh? Blimey and crikey O'Reilly. Well, there you go. If you should want some Street Fighter 2 little metal figurines, I was going to say you could do worse than these. You can't do worse and you can't do better because they're the only ones that are available. But frankly, they're very, very cheap. And they're cheap for a reason because, you know, there are problems with them. Aren't there, Chun Li? I just realised she's got like I think her nose doesn't have any paint on it. Yeah, it doesn't. She's ended up with a silver nose. Which I said in the last video was Copernicus, and I was wrong. It was that one with the weird name, Tycho... I don't know, you pronounce it B-R-A-H-E? I've never heard it said out loud. One of the guys from Penny Arcade uses it as a pseudonym, which always seemed weird to me. Anyway, that's Street Fighter 2 as reenacted by small metal things. Watch.
You win!
But don't forget there are many gods like all over the world.